excitement in the NFL offseason, especially when there's things like the NHL playoffs going on and the NBA playoffs going on. You kind of haven't heard very much about the NFL recently, aside from Julio Jones not wanting to be in Atlanta and then him being, I essentially prank called when Shannon Sharp decides to call him on live air, and then he says that he's done and he's out of Atlanta. But it's official. He's officially out of Atlanta pending a physical, which is, standard procedure. So the Atlanta Falcons end up getting a second round and a fourth round pick for Julio Jones, and they give up a sixth round pick to the Tennessee Titans. Now, I think that this is the end of an era for the Atlanta Falcons. I also think that this tells you what direction that they're going to go in. I understand that Julio was no longer the number one there. I get it, but it seems like they didn't get very much for him. So with Calvin Ridley emerging as the number one receiver for the Atlanta Falcons and seeming to be Matt Ryan's number one target, it makes sense that the Falcons did trade Julio Jones. I'm not saying that him not wanting to be there didn't make any sense. I honestly think it became desperate times call for desperate measures. Now, in the beginning, we heard stories about them looking for a first-round pick or two number one picks. Julio's getting old. He's very expensive. Now, when it comes to wide receivers, we all know that some of these teams can find wide receivers in the late rounds. Like, look at what happened with the Steelers in Chase Claypool. You just find these guys later on in the round. They're not quite as expensive. So, what team was going to be willing to take on his salary? Clearly, the Tennessee Titans were. I just don't think that the Falcons got enough for him, but I guess something is better than nothing. So even though I think the Falcons didn't get enough for Julio Jones, let's take a moment to talk about the Tennessee Titans. Now they just reclaimed their division, they reclaimed the headlines because everything this offseason has been about the Indianapolis Colts and Carson Wentz. Now we can talk about the team who has actually been winning that division in the Tennessee Titans. Yes, now there's Trevor Lawrence, but Trevor Lawrence isn't proven yet. Carson Wentz had an MVP-type season, but he hasn't been right. Maybe he will be this year. But this is just another piece added to A.J. Brown and Derrick Henry for Ryan Tannehill to complete. And even if Ryan Tannehill doesn't have to drop back and throw 30 times with Derrick Henry, which he doesn't, now he has two options that they can't double team. So the Tennessee Titans have just reclaimed the number one seed and the division by trading for Julio Jones.
Baby, I like it raw. Yeah, baby, I like